Okay, ready? Ladies and this way. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, joined once again by my faithful manservant / fucktotem Bertram, and this is my review for Marvel's Spider-Man, The City That Never Sleeps DLC. And if you're wondering, the reason I'm holding up the pop figure of Mary Jane from Marvel's Spider-Man is because the DLC has no boxed copy. Now, I'm aware I didn't have to explain that to you, but it gives me the perfect opportunity to tell this pop figure in person that we're going to be spending a lot of time together. Oh yes. Marvel's Spider-Man, The City That Never Sleeps, was released in 2018 and is DLC for, surprise surprise, Marvel's Spider-Man. The City That Never Sleeps is split into 3 episodes: The Heist, Turf Wars, and Silver Lining, that all released roughly a month apart. So, for those of you who are just going to take my word for it that this DLC is worth playing, and why shouldn't you? I am a professor after all. For those of you who are just going to take my word for it that this DLC is worth playing, and not actually play it for yourselves, I'm going to outline the plot of all 3 episodes for you in less time than it takes a bulimic ballet dancer to eat a biscuit. Basically, Black Cat is stealing from Hammerhead. Hammerhead makes you think he's killed Black Cat, but he hasn't. Hammerhead then kills some cops, which doesn't sit well with the Chinese cop whose name eludes me at the moment. So, Chinese cop whose name eludes me at the moment goes cuckoo, kills some of Hammerhead's men, and then makes you think she's killed Hammerhead. But she's not. Hammerhead then comes to life again as a cyborg robot
There are medical
thing.
records in here.
Yeah,
So,
that metal plate in his
Spider-Man and Silver Sable
strong, pretty
team up
sensitive to
and kill
Heat.
the Hammerhead cyborg robot thing. The end. Now, I have made that sound like complete and utter arse, but I assure you, it is not. In fact, you should play the DLC for yourself just to prove my point. What you have just experienced, dear viewer, is called reverse psychology. You see, I made the story sound so bad that you, dear viewer, would have absolutely no choice but to play it for yourself. Thus, my work here is done.
toys are so much
No, it's not. We still have the review to do. So, where to begin with this review? Well, since this DLC introduces some new characters, let's start there. Now, while she played a very, very, very minor role in the main game, Black Cat is the focus of the first episode of this DLC, The Heist. Black Cat, or should I say Felicia, says that she has a child. Not only that, but Spider-Man is the father. So that would mean there is an insinuation here that Black Cat and Spider-Man had sex.
Sure thing.
But I am here to tell you
no
that
idea what
that
you're talking about.
is impossible. Not unless the spider suit has a very well hidden zip. And, having had sex with a black cat myself, I can confirm that you do indeed get 7 years bad luck. I've had animal rights activists at my front door day and night, and I don't think Spider-Man would risk that kind of attention. So in conclusion, they could not have possibly had sex. So Spider-Man was a fool to believe for even half a second that Felicia had a child. After her death in the first episode, Black Cat doesn't turn up again until she randomly shows up in episode 3 like an STD, and no sooner does she save you, give you the exact information you need to beat Hammerhead, then she's gone. For the record, I myself have never had an STD. I wouldn't even know where to get one. Maybe eBay. Well, that's where you can get pretty much everything these days. On the subject of sex, I hope Spider-Man takes his web shooters off before being intimate with Mary Jane. Otherwise, that could be quite confusing for her, knowing when he's, you know,
You know what I respect?
finished.
Guy who knows what
Moving swiftly on. Hammerhead, a.k.a. the main villain of this DLC, always struck me as more of a Dick Tracy villain than a Spider-Man one. And no, before you ask, I have absolutely no idea why he calls his genitalia Tracy. Who else do we have to talk about? Oh yes! Once again, this DLC, like the main game, features one of my favorite Spider-Man characters of all time, Screwball, who is the basis for most of the DLC side content. And, oh, I'm sorry. Did I say one of my favorite Spider-Man characters?
if she's still alive.
I meant to say my least favorite character of all time. Someone so excruciating, so annoying, so frustrating that if she ever gets married, I hope it's to a drunk that beats her senseless nightly. With a large, inflatable, non-harmful hammer, of course.
Spoken like a true hero.
Moving
With the thought of
on.
you heading into a war zone.
A character I did not mention in my review of the main game was Silver Sable, a woman that I originally confused with a prostitute due to her accent and short hair. But it turns out she is a mercenary, and because of that, most likely a lesbian. She turns up in the 3rd episode of this DLC to assist Spider-Man and most likely kidnap Mary Jane, whom she has fallen madly in love with. I jest. I liked having her back in the game, and she does prove to be particularly, what's that word youngsters say today? Oh yes! She proves to be particularly naughty
Guess
ass.
it's time for some urban
What?
spelunking.
Badass. badass in the final confrontation with Hammerhead. So, gameplay. Well, the gameplay is almost identical to the main game, so I'm not going to waste any time talking about that. So, I'll fill this section with a joke. There we are. Why is King Louis from the Jungle Book so popular with other people's wives? Because he's the king of the swingers. King of the swingers. Swinging. Having sex with other people. You know what? Never mind. Oh, and for those of you who hated the Mary Jane gameplay sections from the main game, I can tell you that luckily there is more of them here, but only in the first episode of the DLC. They probably removed them in the second and third episodes for time, so the developers could include a tribute to Stan Lee, who died just prior to the second episode of the DLC releasing. And I bloody think it was very selfish of Mr. Lee to die at that moment in time. Couldn't he have waited a few months? What if they had delayed the DLC? I would not have been a happy chappy. Moving very, very swiftly on. This DLC ultimately acts as a nice epilogue to the first game, and as we know now, would lead into Spider-Man Miles Morales' little game thing, which I have already reviewed on this channel, so go and watch that right now. If you enjoy the main game, there's absolutely no reason you won't enjoy The City That Never Sleeps. Therefore, I am going to score this DLC, The City That Never Sleeps, which is DLC for Marvel's Spider-Man, which was on PlayStation 4, now on PlayStation 5. What was I saying? Oh yes, the score. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Yes. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. My review for Marvel's Spider-Man, The City That Never Sleeps DLC. If you enjoyed this little review of mine, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't enjoyed it, well then, feel free to give me a thumbs down. Please hit that like, subscribe, bell button thingy. Feel free to jump over to my Twitch channel, which is bloody hilarious. But remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Yes. Now, my dear, what say you and I have a shower together? Oh yes. Oh yes.